Debunking the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory is a scientific theory for the universe's origin, and it started 13.8 billion years ago from the singularity, which is a point of infinite density and temperature, where the known laws of physics break down. A process that continues today with the universe stretching. The process led to the formation of atoms, stars, and galaxies. That is the Big Bang Theory in short. And I have a few, I guess you could say, questions, critiques, holes I want to poke in it. And the first I'll start off with is the Big Bang is the leading scientific theory for the universe's origin. First off, how can science prove to me that nothing ever existed prior to the Big Bang, supposed Big Bang? Can they prove nothing was before that? Can they prove that it wasn't one of many Big Bangs, that this is the Big Bang we live in, supposedly, and maybe there was other ones? Maybe there was a big wave or a big square or big bounce, something else. Can they prove that there was nothing else? Science, can it prove that? It cannot, and I know it cannot. It started 13.8 billion years ago. Can they prove that? No. Can it definitively be proved that anything existed over 10,000 years ago? Can you prove anything existed outside of maybe two generations ago? You can point to things, but you can't prove. I'll get into that later. But can it definitively be proven that anything existed a billion years ago? Can you prove that? You cannot. And what kind of proof would be acceptable? For me, the same kind of proof that scientists and atheists expect of Christians. The kind of proof that is hard evidence that manifests right before them and can speak to them and say, I am that thing in which you are asking for. That evidence you are asking for, I am it. That same kind of evidence. Can it be proven? What proof is acceptable to prove the age of the universe? Again, the same I said. And from the singularity, a point of infinite density and temperature and energy, where known laws of physics break down. And what I hear when I say that when I hear the laws of physics break down in the singularity, I hear miracle. I hear the same thing scientists and atheists probably hear when they hear an explanation. Oh, it was a miracle. Or really, the laws of physics break down? You mean your science breaks down in there? So there's no way you can explain. By definition, you could not explain it then. So anyways, it's an infinite density and temperature and energy, right? Well, how did we're asking how these things came to be, and you're saying it starts with this. If the universe did come from that singularity, then that would mean that the theory does not explain the beginning of the universe, but rather a point of its existence. The singularity, an object never seen or recorded ever before, starts off with heat, matter, and energy and space. All the things it's supposed to explain. You may say it doesn't say space, but yet where would it exist? When did it exist? It existed before, in the beginning, right? There's a time. What existed in it? What kind of matter was it? Density. Density is not something that can exist. Like how dense is an object? How much molecules? Okay. When they're saying density, that's the matter. Everything that there is in the universe was in that singularity. Okay? And space. It all existed in the singularity. But they'll tell you the singularity isn't a space, apparently. But it existed in there. Okay? Science will say that the singularity created its own space and time and matter, but science has never seen or proven anything can create or destroy anything. So, example, energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. and that's a scientific fact. But yet, in the singularity where the laws of physics break down, energy can be created, space can exist where there is no space, and matter can exist when there was no matter. How do they know that the laws of physics break down in the imaginary, never seen before singularity? I don't know. Because it helps. It helps their theory, if that's true. And has anyone ever seen any of the laws of physics break down or not work? Is there any situation? The more gravity that you have, does it break down the laws of physics? It doesn't. It affirms them. A process that continues today with the universe still stretching is the rest of that definition. What process is continuing today? The expanding of the universe? I agree. Yeah, the universe is expanding, definitely. But if it's saying the process, which is the singularity, that an infinite source of temperature, energy, and density or matter is all pouring out of the single point, that process is continuing today? No. The universe expanding today? Yes. Yeah, it's expanding. I agree. But that does not prove the Big Bang. It proves an expansion of the universe. Something's expanding it. Something caused it to expand. Something so great and so powerful, because if it all was still at one point, every single point of the universe was still at one point, it would cause something far greater, far more powerful, and with more energy than anything that exists in the universe to cause it to all move and move on the scale that it's moving. And it ever increasing and increasing as some parts is expanding faster than the speed of light. That's an infinite source of energy. Something beyond time and space and beyond the energy constraints that we have anyways. The universe seems to be so there's, I want to say, if the universe was contracting, right, let's say, instead of expanding, and they found it to be contracting, science would then say it still confirms the Big Bang theory, because what happens is the Big Bang has an expansion cycle and it has a contraction cycle, and they would say, you see, it's contracting. That's why we get the blue phase from the galaxies. We see the light. We see blue light instead of red light, but we actually see red light instead of blue light, meaning the planets and galaxies are moving away from us. But I'm just saying, if we saw blue light, that would mean that the planets are moving in on us, moving closer to us. Galaxies are moving closer to us. And they would just say that's the contraction phase of the Big Bang. And this process, the Big Bang, led to the formation of atoms, stars, and galaxies. How convenient. Not only is it an infinite source of energy, matter, density, but it's also an infinite source of formation. It forms atoms, it forms stars, it forms galaxies, all by this thing called gravity. That's it. That's all you need, gravity, and all of these things will be created. However, we've had much more gravity and much more stars and much more opportunity and much more expansion, but nothing else new is being created. We're not seeing, if we're seeing new stars created, I have not seen the process of a new star. I hear that new stars are created, but I don't think everyone's ever seen a new star created. Especially in the process, they say that the dust and the gas all come together and get compacted and compress and form a big clump, and it starts to burn, and then it's a star. I've never seen that. I don't think anybody's ever witnessed that, but it's taught as a fact. And one of the other things I just wanted to mention real quick was the singularity, if I'm correct, basically that's a black hole. All the mass is in one spot. What is greater than all the mass of one spot of everything? What gravitational pull could cause that singularity, the things that are inside the singularity, to be pulled out of it? Everything that has any gravity or pull to it is inside of it. It pulls in on itself. How did it escape? I've read one interpretation of the Big Bang Theory where it's not an explosion but an expansion. All right? An explosion needs force, energy, but still, so does an expansion. So where did that force for expansion come from? And also, the last thing I'm going to touch on is the cosmic microwave background. How they say that the cosmic microwave background is the heat from the leftover Big Bang. That's building on a false premise. They have not proved that the Big Bang Theory is true. So them saying that the heat is from the Big Bang Theory is false. They're building that off of a false premise. You cannot. They have not proved that the Big Bang Theory, observing the CMB, does not confirm. It only supports their theory. But what they've measured, the cosmic microwave background, what they've measured is only what we're, as far as we could see or as far as we can measure. And they're calling that the universe. How do they know it's not 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, infinitely bigger? So once they get more data, which is called a scientific fact, once they get more data, then they'll update what they know and change what they say. Can Christianity do that? Can we say Jesus was died and raised on the third day? Get new information saying, oh no, my bad, it was the fourth day. Yeah. Well, we got new information, now it's the fourth day. And then maybe a few years later, no, it's actually the fifth day because you see we got this. No, because we're held to a higher standard. However, science is supposed to be scientific, but yet they have leeway and they have ranges and scientific facts and tolerances, all kinds of wiggle words to wiggle their way out of a statement or a fact that they made. And I think that would be it. The last thing I'm going to say is, for those of you Christians that believe evolution and Christianity can coexist together, it cannot. The Big Bang Theory alone tells you that the universe began from an infinite source, not God. Their infinite source created everything, time, space, and matter. And that infinite source is outside of time, space, and matter. It's an eternal thing. Whereas our eternal thing is God. Our God is outside of time, space, and matter. He can create all of these things. But if you say the Big Bang Theory is true, that means God didn't create anything. And I'll talk more about that when I'm talking about the other aspects of evolution. This is cosmic evolution, and there's chemical evolution, and there's all kinds of evolution. Microevolution, macroevolution. And I'll try and discuss all of those, but I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. This is my third take. I got it down to 14 minutes. All right. Bye.